Is it working? I think it's working. Oh, hey, how are you guys doing? Hi, James. Hey, Melanie. How is it going? Hola, hola, Adrian. Buenos días. ¿Qué tal estamos? Hope you're all doing good. Got 3 minutes and a half to get started. And it's a really nice day. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Last day in Santander. Hey, Donna. How are you doing? Welcome. Hope you're doing good. I can't believe it's almost time to go back home already. Well, time goes really, really quick. So there we go. But yeah, we shall be starting around in 3 minutes just to have a look around Santander and, well, some street art pieces, because I cannot show you all, but I'm going to be showing you some of the most iconic ones. Maybe next time when I come over, I'll do another tour of the other end of the city where we have different pieces. Hey, hi, Donna. Hi, Susie. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're having a good time. I did, Melanie. Thank you. It was actually nice seeing my family. They made a lot of food, and it was a good time. So yes, thank you so much for asking. Hope you all had a good holiday too. It's been really, really warm here though, which is the unusual thing. It was just so warm in Santander. We were at like 20 degrees on Christmas Day, and I was like, what's happening? Very, very unusual. But well, it was nice. I had an ice cream instead of having hot chocolate, which works for me. So that's all right. But yeah, no, it's it's food at the end of the day. I'm not gonna say no to it. But no, I'm a little sad that I have to go. But well, it happens. Oh no, you have the flu. Oh, I hope you're feeling better, Melanie. I really, really hope so, because there's been a lot of viruses going around this winter. My grandma has been with bronchitis, one of my friends too. So, please take care of yourself. Hey, Emma B, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in Santander. But yeah, stay warm and stay safe, guys. There's lots of little nasty things going around. Hey, Catherine, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Hey, Jan, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. Hello from Scotland. How is it up there, Emma? Is it cold? I thought that the temperatures were sort of going back to normal in the UK, but I don't know what to expect anymore. When I land tomorrow, well, at least I should have a short walk from the airport. Well, not walk. I'm not walking from Stansted to Southampton. I'm not crazy. Oh my God, it's snowing. Well, Emma, happy White Christmas. Hey, Quinn, how are you doing? 18 degrees here in the USA. Yeah, I suspect that's a lot colder for you guys than what you're used to. It's quite abrasive over there, I hear. Hey, Bear. Hi, Queen. Welcome. Hi, Bear. Hope you're doing good. Happy holidays, everyone. And we have just half a minute until we get started. So just making sure that everything is in order around here. And then we can get rolling. Hey, Kaki, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. Right, and I'm about to go live, so let me stand up. That's gonna be, my knees. There we go. 3, 2, 1, and here we are. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me here. For those of you who don't know me, just a very quick introduction. My name is Dr. Lillian Cespedes Gonzalez, and today we're doing a tour in my hometown of Santander. It's actually one of my last 2 tours in Santander now until the spring or summer, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And because today we're going to be looking at street art. And street art has a very special relationship with Santander, since we are the cradle for one of the most renowned street artists currently in the world, who is Okuda San Miguel. And we will be seeing an Okuda San Miguel right on my neighborhood. So I have lots of different bits and bobs of street art to show you. 9 degrees today in the south of England. That's not too bad. We can tolerate 9 degrees, Jan. Well, at least I can. In any case, better than the -6. So what are we going to be doing today? We're literally going to be starting here in one of the biggest murals that we have in the city, in Street Pearvosa. And then we're going to follow the route through the 2 areas where I used to live in here, the area where I grew up and the area where my parents live currently, since they are some of the most prolific parts in town. And we're going to be seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I think it's 7 murals in total with smaller pieces along the way. Hi, Grace. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much, Melanie. It's very much appreciated. Now, all of the murals that I'm showing you today either have a cultural or historical relation or an artistic impact of some kind. So I will explain as we go along what each bit means and why they are special. Hi, Dorley. Hi, Memphis. Stefan. Hope you're doing good. I'm literally just about to turn the camera, so you've arrived right on the right moment. And here we go. Right. So we are here in the area of Pearvosa, which is right in the city center of Santander, right next to our building for Diputación. Diputación is sort of like our local government. They sort out things for Cantabria. And we have actually 3 pieces of art here. I would like to show you first the cow. This is just put in here to kind of pay homage to all of the things that are important about Santander and Cantabria. Hi, Wendy. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. And I appreciate this a slightly different way of perceiving street art. But as you can see, we have a fierce-looking cow in here. Cows are very important for the traditions of Cantabria. We are a culture of milk producers and meat producers. There is a particular type of cow, Tudanca beef, that is proper from here. And on the actual cow itself, as you can see, we have a lot of things that are proper of Santander. We have lots of scissors because we have many barber shops in here. We have lots of coffee as well. It's the kind of vibe that the city provides in terms of commerce, since we are in actually one of the most important commercial areas in town. Hey, Amos, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in Santander. I'm just introducing you to the cow that we have here in the area of Pearvosa before I actually show you the proper mural. We also have a couple of references to important members of our society, and that is Juan de la Cosa, who was the cartographer that actually went on to do the first Mapa Mundi for Spain in the Golden Age. And here we have different bakery-like items, since we are quite fond of bread in here as well. Hey, Terry, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here from Australia. But the big piece that this tour starts with, hi, Katie, welcome. Hope you're having a really good day and happy holidays, everyone, is this mural over here. Now I'm gonna take a few steps back and I will go into vertical mode even, so you guys can appreciate the enormous work that we have in here. This is, I believe, this one is 400 square meters. It's absolutely huge. And actually, guys, you're very lucky because this piece will actually stop being here in the next couple of years. In this area that you see it's all fenced off. All of this has actually been turned into a new building. So, of course, this will not exist anymore. And this was actually one of the very first murals that we had in Spain at this scale in the northern parts of the country. And it depicts a historical event that is very important for Santander. You have a few bits of iconography. Before I explain, I think I'm going to go into vertical mode, so then you guys can take any postcards that you may. So let me prepare the gimbal for vertical mode, just so you can get there the full shot. It is lovely, isn't it, Amos? And the interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is that this mural is not done by one single artist. This was actually done by what we call a fondo de empleo. A fondo de empleo in Spain is an initiative for the community to try and help people improve skills that may turn into labor and specific areas of work. If you guys are okay with that, I'm going to go back into horizontal mode. Is that all right? Let me just prepare the gimbal. And here we go. So this was the contribution of several different people that went to this Fondo de Empleo to actually learn how to do mural art. Now, what you have here is the moment in the 13th century when an admiral that was born here in Santander, Ramón Bonifaz y Camargo, Admiral Bonifath, as he's normally remembered in history, actually led the Castilian fleet in that ship that you see there, in the Carceña, all the way to Seville to retake the city on behalf of Fernando III, El Santo, the Saint, from the Muslim Taifa of Sevilla. So this is a moment that actually relates to the history of Spain, and of course the leadership of the Cantabrian admiral is very much admired. Hi KG, hey Dixie, how are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining. Now you see we have this huge chain in here that is sort of shattered. Well, the story actually says that what Bonifath did to reconquer Seville was actually breaking the chains that were essentially stuck to Torre del Oro, which is the monument that you see next to the ship, that sort of had been put there by the Muslim Taifa kingdom to avoid people from entering Seville through the Guadalquivir River and taking over the city. So that's the moment that is being captured here by this painting. And on the top, I'm just gonna zoom in. Hopefully you'll be able to see them a bit better. You have those two heads painted there on the top. Hey Joel, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. Hi Iwa. Hello, how are you doing? Well, those two heads there at the top are representing the two saints of Santander, San Emeterio and San Celedonio, which you may have heard in one of my tours already, and if that's the case, I'm sorry for repeating myself, but they were essentially two martyrs from Roman times during the time of Diocletian. They got executed for being Christians in the area of La Rioja, which is farther down south in Spain, and their heads were actually put in a stone boat, if you believe that such a thing could exist. The stone boat, well, went all around the peninsula and eventually made its way into the Bay of Santander, where the people of the city saw this as some form of miracle, and they took them in and built the area where the cathedral is currently standing. So this is a way of representing all of our important moments of history here in one mural. And like I said, this was done actually by about 10 or 12 people, all working in this Fondo Laboral, in this enterprise workshop. Right, I'm just gonna zoom out now. Hey, Hans from Bavaria, how are you doing? Long time no see. Happy holidays. So this is the first mural that we're starting with. And before we go, I'll also show you this, which is actually a replica of one of the Cantabrian stelae. This actually relates to the ancient past of Cantabria. It's La Estela de Barros, which has this icon, which we call the Lábaro. You too, Hans, thank you so much. You see this structure there? This is what we have adopted in Cantabria as our sort of unofficial flag, because this relates to the Celts, the Cantabri, who were the original tribes that lived here before the Romans came and conquered the Iberian Peninsula. So it's a very strange type of art that only happens here in Cantabria, not even in the rest of Spain, but specifically in Cantabria, and that has correlations to the rest of the Celtic Fringe in Europe, such as in areas of Brittany, Cornwall, Scotland, and Ireland. And this is a replica that we have, again, right next to our local government, just to kind of call out to our identity. So as you can see, we have our origins as fierce Celtic warriors, our historical proud moments of liberation and, appointment onto the Reconquista, and the things that make Cantabria what Cantabria is with the cow, which is, well, a land of actually pretty ordinary people who are just farmers living off the land. And that is all we have here. So I like starting here because I think it's a nice sort of combination of different media of street art that not everybody may have known before. And now we're gonna go over to the next stop. So bear with me while I get out of the building of Diputación. We are going to take some mechanic, not staircases, but some mechanic ramps, some electric ramps that they've built here in Santander to help people go up the very steep parts of the city. And we're going to go on to our next mural, who, like this one, is actually going to be one done by a Fondo Laboral. The next mural that we're going to be seeing is a huge map, reproduction of one of the earliest maps that we have of Santander, dating from the 15th century. And again, it's on the lateral of a building, which is actually pretty cool. So let me get us there. Now, in the meantime, as I'm walking around, I don't know if you can see, there is an area here with a lot of tables and chairs. And people are starting, coming over because it's, of course, about to start being Spanish time for lunch. And this is a well-known part of the city where you come out for tapas and for food in general. La calle Peñarbosa Street, where we are right now, is one of the big epicenters for foodies in the whole of town. So we're just gonna get through it without trying to get distracted by the smell, and then we'll move on. But as you can see, even little commerces have pieces more ordinary pieces of street art decorating their houses. And that's because ever since the sort of late 80s, early 90s, Santander has been a hub spot for any kind of expression and artistic contribution that comes from a more underground perspective. Hey, Gregory, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. So you will see as we go through the city that we have lots of graffiti, even though small graffiti. Then we have the big murals. And I'm happy to say that in this day and age, at least the majority of the murals that we have in the city have actually been commissioned by the local authorities. Back in the day, when people like Janks or Okuda were starting, the city had a serious big war against street art. It kind of became a bit of a street art war in the streets of Santander. And I think over time they realized that this was actually another form of expression, another way of sharing our talent and creativity. And if they actually promoted this, they could facelift some areas of the city that really needed some help. Because all of the buildings that I'm going to show you today that have these murals were actually in a very bad state of repair before the murals were put in there. And as you probably know, since Santander lost this historical center because of the fire of 1941, we don't have a lot of necessarily pretty things sometimes to look at. And therefore, having these new artistic expressions kind of make up for a lot of the things that we lost. Right, we're now going to go onto the ramps. This is part of our accessibility program. Hey, Culture D, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. As you can see, the road goes up and up and up and up and up. We are essentially on a mountain. That's what Cantabria is all about, quite high altitudes in here. And this is to make sure that every single main street in town that goes up the hill has a way of allowing particularly elderly people or people with mobility issues to get to the top of the hill without, being severely inconvenienced and injured. We also have different elevators that go to the highest and most inaccessible parts of the city, again, to help with the mobility of the town. Hi, Eliza, how are you doing? And I'm glad you guys like it. It was a bit controversial to begin with because as much as these are working today, the repairs of these sort of ramps weren't done, always appropriately. And sometimes if they break, it takes months for them to be repaired because the parts come from, wherever, and it's quite hard. And of course, in Santander, rains a lot. So as you can imagine, there can be some serious problems. But it's honestly helped people so much. Now, before we go, I just want to give you the view down the street. This is, by the way, Lope de Vega Street, which is where I grew up. My grandparents' house is just down there. And as you can see, we're very, very nearby the bay, and you can still see the mountains from here. So this is actually one of the most iconic postcards that you can buy in kiosks and things like that of Santander, which I thought you would probably appreciate. I'm glad that you like it, Donna. Santander has its problems like every single city, but, we try to keep our charm going. Right, let me just cross this busy road, and then we'll go over to the next mural, which I think you can see here probably already on the edge of the screen. Gregory, did the mobility measures fit in with existing streetscape? Yes, they did. And they've taken advantage of new areas that they are redeveloping as well to actually incorporate them into that kind of urban development. So it was good. Oh, Donna, it is actually clean here because this is the city center and it's the holidays. If we were on a secondary road, you may be surprised. It's something that actually the locals comment upon a lot. That it seems only certain roads get the cleaning. But hey, there we go. Hey, Jenny from Long Island. Hi, Heather. How are you guys doing? Hope you're having a really good time. But some places are obviously cleaner than others. But the city center tends to be pretty clean. And before we move on to the proper next piece of street art, I would just like to show you this building that actually doesn't get a lot of love, which is absolutely stunning. This is actually what in Spain we would call neo-mudéjar. But as you know from my Golden Age series, we're trying to remove the mudéjar word. It's literally neo-Islamic architecture. It's an absolutely stunning building that is in severe need of repair, and that we're hoping will actually become some kind of cultural organization for the city. But it's currently in the hands of the local government in some form of dispute. So unfortunately, it's just there, sort of left for dead, quite dirty. But I am sure you can see, particularly if I zoom in, that if this got a clean, those colors would just pop like nothing. This is from the early 20th century. Right, let me just move us now to our next mural, which you can see from here already. It's this mural that is approaching us now, ahead on Calle Santa Lucia, St. Lucia's Street, is also done by a Fondo de Trabajo, by one of these workshops to help people get new skills for life. And it's bigger than the other one, just a bit less detail because it's all on the same color scale. But it's absolutely stunning. Well, all buildings have their charm. I think, they help with a city having a particular soul. I always think of old buildings as the soul of a city, those little quirks that otherwise everything would just look the same. Well, as you can see, it's absolutely huge. I'm just going to come down here first so we can see it properly from bottom to top. And then I'll go over to the steps so I'm not in the middle of the road. But this is the other big mural that we have. Hey, Xaba, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. So like the other one, this is the best part of 300 to 400 square meters of wall that is being painted. We actually have down here, which is the other reason why I wanted to take you down here, the actual names of the people who were part of this workshop that made the mural. So I can show you. This was done in 2013. So as you can see, they've just put all the names in there for everyone that contributed with the support of the Town Hall of Santander and the Cantabrian government. It needs a little bit of repair in the lower areas just because, well, unfortunately, we have a lot of humidity problems here in Santander, but it is absolutely stunning. And this is literally a carbon copy of a 16th century map that we have of what Santander used to look like. I'm just going to take a few more steps back because this thing is so huge so we can appreciate it again in full. There's no one actually coming to this road right now, so excellent. And I'm just going to go into vertical mode just for a couple of moments so we can appreciate the thing in full. So here I go, 1, 2, 3, vertical. So as you can see, this is the full extent of the building and the facade itself. And here you can see different parts of the city. Hey, Mark, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. I think you can probably see quite clearly the division between the two sides of Santander by the bridge and the river that we used to have here in town, and then how the city sort of developed from the port onwards. I'm just going to go into horizontal mode again so I can zoom in. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. And here I can zoom in a bit more, and there you can see. So that bridge in the way, if you've done the tour of Santander City Center with me, that's where the old bridge used to be. Then on the left-hand side, where you see the writing, that's where the cathedral is now and where the castle used to be. And then right around the window is where the port of Santander started being developed in the area that now we call Puerto Chico, and that some of you were with me walking around yesterday evening. And this is, again, just a very nice idea of keeping the heritage of the city alive, because a lot of people wouldn't even know that this was the way Santander used to look like before, the fire of 1941. I'm glad that you guys like it. Well, I'm just going to zoom out, and we're going to move on because we have a couple more things to see. So let me get back to the street level, because after these big projects that had been done by the council, it is time to take you to the real soul and fame of Cantabrian street art. The next thing that we're going to be seeing now is an Okuda, guys. So let me tell you a little bit about Okuda San Miguel. So Okuda San Miguel, as of 2017, is recognized as one of the most influential and important street artists and mural creators in the whole of Europe. He actually has artworks everywhere in the whole world, from the United States, throughout Europe and in Asia now as well. And whenever he can, he always comes back to here to Santander, which is where he grew up, to do little pieces or bigger pieces depending on the commissions that he has. He has a lot of big projects in the area of Santander, which is sort of towards the end of the city, but unfortunately signal there is often quite patchy, so it's not so easy to get those. Here you also have the random graffiti that we get sometimes when buildings are empty. Thank you so much, Gregory. I very much appreciate it. But right now we're going to see one of his earlier pieces as a recognized artist here in Santander, in the area of Rio de la Pila, which is actually in my neighborhood. But Okuda San Miguel started originally painting around the train tracks and in abandoned buildings in the late 1990s, which was when I was actually a child. So I grew up seeing his name and thinking, hey, how cool is that? When he was nobody. And then a few years later, he just boomed. And everyone in Santander was crazy about Okuda. And rightfully so, because his art is really something quite amazing. Now, Okuda's art is well known for the geographic, the geometric, not geographic shapes and use of color. It's all very much striking. And he also tends to use a lot of animal influences. So we're going to be seeing the animal influences and his skull face, because he went through a phase of painting skulls on almost everything, just here. And here it is. As you can see, the sign over there, Rio de la Pila and Okuda San Miguel all the way to the top. This type of artwork is just something you cannot mistake. That type of color, particularly the chromatic scale that he's done on the cat face, is something very Okuda, and it's absolutely stunning. And what I like here is that we've got an interesting mix of the traditional Spanish tile work in Rio de la Pila, followed up by the more modern street art piece. This one has been here since the early 2000s, and it gets restored quite a lot. All of Okuda's pieces get restored quite a lot for obvious reasons. I'm sure you'll realize that they are actually quite a touristic attraction in this day and age. So we make sure that this one is in top-notch shape. So there you go. I promised you quality, and here you go. It's not the biggest one that he's made, but it's definitely one of the coolest that we have in the city, and one of the earliest ones. So it's always good seeing, how an artist has developed from this into what he's known nowadays. But there you go. Well, as you see now what Okuda is capable of, let me take you to the street where a lot of the original pintadas, that's our word for graffiti, started happening and still happen to this day and age. Here in Santander, we're very big fans of graffitis in general. And, well, this is Rio de la Pila. Rio de la Pila is an area traditionally for going out. It used to be quite a problematic area in town. There used to be fights here every single weekend. And well, it kind of had that underground vibe. As you can see, typical graffiti door for a garage. But here we have in one of our abandoned buildings another graffiti from another local artist, which is Big, B-Y-G, which is this lady in the tub. So again, we've tried to make use of our art to give buildings or areas that otherwise may look, nasty, a facelift. This one has been here for quite some time, but as you can see, it has a tendency of getting vandalized quite frequently because, like I said, this is an area where there is a lot of people that come to go out, to practice their own graffiti, etc., etc. And, having your name next to Big is something that, well, anyone would want. So this is the other one that we have here that, unfortunately, is no longer in such a good state of repair, but that's also because the building is not in the greatest state of repair either. They've been trying to revitalize this part of town for quite some time, but as you can see, we have quite severe humidity problems, and it takes quite a lot. But this is another one of the murals that we have in Rio. Well, there is, believe it or not, another 2 more murals in this narrow street. So let me get you to the top of the road so we can see those. One of them is from an Italian artist, and the other one is from the famous Roa, who is also one of the big names now in Europe for street art, and his mural has actually been here since the early 2000s as well. So we have a good mix. My city is like that. Well, it's unfortunately sometimes how it goes down, I'm afraid. Thank you so much, Grace. I very much appreciate it. As you can see, more pintadas, more graffiti, people wanting to express themselves. Santander has always had a strong underground community. And in fact, there is a bar here that has the entire wall just painted with people's like signs and names in a graffiti style, which is just coming over here. There you go. So this is it. And this is actually a bar that is open. This is not because it's abandoned or anything. The owners of the bar just wanted everybody to, be creative and do whatever they wanted with it. So they gave the people a free space, and that's how the outside of the bar looks around. Even actually on the sign, as you can see. So it's the street of the people, as we normally call it, on a day out, like on a Friday, Saturday night. This gets so full. You can hear the noise all the way throughout. It's really, really busy. But, well, it's the way the people of Santander are. The artwork is really nice indeed, Donna. I have no complaints on that behalf. And as you can see, once again, we have more staircases and the zip train that takes you to the top of town. So the accessibility program is something that we take very much into consideration. And here are some of the traditional flats. Some of these are some of the oldest flats that we have in this part of town, and they date sort of from the early period of the 20th century. Hi, Camilo. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in Santander. Right. Well, I'm really grateful for this set of staircase, actually, because my house is just around the corner from here. I'll point out where I live when we go down that way. And they really make things a lot easier. As you can see, this is very steep. Yeah, Mark, is honestly it's a very steep city that we have here. As you can see, the terrain incline is quite pronounced. And we have a lot of elderly people, particularly that live on the top of the hill. So this is part of our mobility program to just help people be able to move around more freely around the city, which is a good initiative. Yeah, well, I honestly don't know where they got the inspiration from. I think it was actually from Hong Kong, because Matt in Hong Kong, our guide there, he actually does a tour where you get into this sort of never-ending escalator. But as you can see, there is a bridge there as well to pass over this part of town. That's where one of the pieces is. And then we have the zip train, or the funicular, as we call it, that takes you to the upper part of the town. From that point on, everything is down the hill. Yeah, Matt is awesome. We're good friends. I'm trying to sort out another collab with him in the new year, so hopefully we'll get that sorted. And here on the side is Roa's rats. Yeah, they are covered, which is what they should have done here as well, Eliza, because it rains so much in Santander. But hey, there you go. Hi, Wendy. How are you doing? Oh, thank you so much, guys. And yeah, the funicular is actually very nice. It's really handy. And that was one of the first things they actually put here in terms of mobility. And this is Roa's Rats. Roa is an artist that is quite well known for just working in black and white. As you can see, someone has actually gone and spoiled part of it over it. That's been there for a really long time, but they don't want to clean it, because if they do, chances are that the rest of the mural will go. It actually carries on that way. It's actually one of the longest murals we have in the city. Hi, Federica. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining again on one of my tours. Hope you're doing good. And this one has been here since 2010. And again, Roa, like Okuda, was one of the first sort of influencers of the movement, and he goes around doing all sorts of things. They do look like squirrels too, don't they, Wendy? I've always said that they look like squirrels, even though they are called the rats. But you're absolutely right. I think they're squirrels. But, well, I'm not going to argue with artists about their own names, If they like it to be rats, I'll take the rats, no problem. Hey, John, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. Well, I'm just going to cross now, because on the side of this building we have the other mural. This one is a lot more recent. It's just from 2018 from an artist called Zen, who is Italian. And it's actually a street art piece with message. Hi, Kathleen. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here. So this literally has a name. It's called Alejar a la Muerte. That literally means pushing death aside. And I don't know if you can see the message with all of the vegetables, all of the fruit, kind of trying to promote people to have a healthy lifestyle, to push, death aside and try to prolong our healthy habits so that we can have a more fulfilling life. The colors are absolutely stunning. Zen is still a little bit low-key and a little bit underground still for a lot of people. So it's only in a few places around the world where you can see his art. But I think in the decades to come, he's going to be one of the up-and-coming dominating artists in the scene. Hi, Michelle. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Right, give me a sec because I need to go. I've missed my stop for the escalator, so I'm just going to go up the actual stairs. And then we're going to go over the pass so we can have a look at the bay on the way to the next mural. So one last view of Alejar la Muerte, and off we go. Right, bear with me because in this part we don't have stairs. I could take the funicular, but there's quite a long queue, so I'll rather do the exercise for you guys. And the one nice thing about coming up here that we have is that the day is relatively clear and you may get some nice views of the bay as well. So let me get us there from the top of the bridge. Oh, right. It's actually getting quite warm again, guys. I came here expecting wind and never mind. It really is, Eliza. And there you go. So that is the Bay of Santander just over there. That's Peña Cabarga, where the radio and TV station are, and the hilltops of Santander. We cannot see my flat from here, but we will on the way down. But as you can see, this is wild country. Wherever you are in Santander and there is nothing built, it's just literally, anything goes. Eat your vegetables and climb steps. Yes, that's a very Cantabrian way of looking at things. But as you can see, this is the expanse of the city. We have a small piece of street art here on the right. Let me just get this van a pass so we can see it. This one is a more traditional one done on a garage door. It's received a little bit of damage, but I like the message. Everything, good vibes. But again, back in the early 90s and early 2000s, most garage doors around town would have some form of street art mural on them. It's something that is kind of gone a little bit out of fashion now. I think maybe we overdid it for a little while, but some places still preserve the look. Well, we need to go to the end of this road so I can show you the next piece, which is actually quite political. But let me give you the last views here from the top of town. Well, we're not actually on the highest point of town, but that's as high as we're gonna go in this tour. And now we're gonna go down to Calle San Sebastian Street, to see a piece by San, who is a artist from Extremadura, from the sort of southwest of Spain. Yes, I would say tres bien. Yes, very good, 100%. This, by the way, is the sort of working class living quarters of the city. Everyone that lives around here is, just an average person. This is not the fancy part of town in any way, shape, or form. And you can see here the piece by San from Extremadura, which is very, very political. And I think you guys probably will be able to get an idea of what he's trying to represent, but I'll explain when I get to the bottom of the ramp. Right, let me get down there. Apologies for the construction work. They're actually fixing one of the houses here that has suffered a little bit with the wind. So let me just get us down the ramp, and you will see an interesting phenomena as I get to the bottom of the ramp. This is a little, well, it's supposed to be a park for children. It doesn't really get used much for that type of stuff. It's normally taken over by teenagers who are doing their parties, street parties and whatnot. But right underneath the, I'm gonna lose sight now of the thing. Let me just take the curve. Right underneath the passage of the ramp, taking inspiration from San himself, there's been a whole wall with pintadas, with graffiti, from, again, local small street artists up and coming, trying to express themselves and, make their own mark in this part of town. These are actually a lot of these names I recognize because they are literally from my neighborhood and I know who they are. So I can point out almost where they live. Hey, Charlene, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. But as you can see, here is the piece. I'm just gonna zoom in so we can see it a bit better. But this piece is essentially making a commentary on society. You have people down here. If I get a bit closer, you may be able to see them better. Just ordinary people looking at this structure that, as you can see, is looking not so good, right? It has a couple of holes. So we're trying to patch them up. But the truth is that at the top, everything is quite nasty and quite patchy. And if I zoom in, you'll be able to recognize that those are people dressed as the ghosts and figurines from Pac-Man. Well, this is essentially saying that people are watching those in power, and that if we all, ordinary people, one day decided that we had enough, we could take them. So people at the top should, be careful, because we know they are fantasmas. Hey, Bonnie, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Now, fantasma is the word in Spanish for ghost, in reference to the Pac-Man thing. And when we normally call someone a fantasma in Spanish, it's not necessarily an insult, but it's not a nice word, which essentially comes to say that you are, you're a nobody. We know that you're up to you. You're a shifty person, and we're gonna get on to you. So that's what this political piece actually tries to represent. And it was very controversial when it was painted here, because it was actually done during a conservative party government in a period where we were trying to expel corruption of our government. So it was quite poignant. How come Pac-Man can save anybody? Well, that one is a piece of information I'm not clear on myself, Dorley, but that's the take of the artist in this particular occasion. Hey, Naomi, welcome to Santander on our street art tour. Now we're going to take down the stairs. As you can see, this is a secondary road, so there is no actual proper escalators. We don't have them everywhere, just on the main roads. But we're going to go down here in Pouchol Montis. There is a little mural on the side of a bar that has been there, my goodness, since I was a baby. So we're talking of the early 90s. And again, you will see on these little side streets, we have a lot of pintadas, a lot of smaller types of graffiti. Again, every time we have a big name coming around here, the youth get inspired by it, and well, they want to imitate. Thank you so much, KG. I very much appreciate it. Good morning to you, Bonnie. Hope you're having a fab day. And then we will come out to my street, where we have two huge murals done again by a Fondo de Trabajo de Empleo, by one of these associations of people to try and help them gain skills for labor. But this one that starts here on the edge is the one from the bar, which has essentially the skyline of a city. Hi, Herman. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. It's very deteriorated, since this was one of the earlier businesses in the area to actually ask a local artist to do the street art painting of it. But it's sort of, I think the idea was to kind of try and represent something like New York, obviously saving the artistic licenses. But that's how it goes all the way around the bar itself. Cool. Well, let me just cross here in San Celedonio, as no one is coming over. And now, we've been around or skirting my neighborhood all the time, but now we are literally right around my street. My building is literally right around the corner from here. And in fact, the mural that I'm about to show you is right in front of my window. So it's what I wake up to every single day when I live here, which is pretty cool, I must say. So let me get us there. Hi, Christine from Fleetwood. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to cross momentarily. And then here in the corner, you see the the building with the balcony, well, the next door there, that's my house. So you are literally in my turf, and as you can see, down there is Rio de la Pila. That's where we were looking at the woman that was bathing, the graffiti for the bathing woman. And as I turn around, you're gonna be able to see two of the earliest murals that were done here in the neighborhood. And that is what I wake up to every single day when I open the window. So this is what we call an urbanización. It's kind of like a set block of flats with special security and whatnot. It was one of the first ones in the city. It was very hype. It was supposed to be, super modern, cool, and whatnot. And in order to decorate it again, to bring some oomph onto it, they decided to commission these murals that you see here. Well, the people that you see represented on the walls are some of the most important writers of Cantabria, Santander, and Cantabria. They are all from the 19th and 20th century, and I can give you a little bit of info on, if not all of them, definitely some of them. So I'll start with this one. The lady there that you see faded on the top left, that's Concha Espina. Concha Espina is one of the most important female writers of Cantabria. She did a lot of work with children's stories, and she was definitely a pioneer in her field. Then the guy next to her with the sort of a combo over is Jesus Cancio, who was another important artist of the 19th century. And the most important person in this one is the guy with the sort of epic beard. That is Menéndez Pelayo. Menéndez Pelayo was eminence in Cantabrian literature, and not just Cantabrian literature, but Spanish history overall, because he was a very prominent historian, and he was actually nominated to a Nobel Prize. Farther down, straight down from him, the guy with the pipe is José del Río Sainz, who was another novelist. Next to him, we have, I think it's Picabez. And then on the left, the one that's bold is Gerardo Diego, who was also a poet and novelist. And finally, the guy in the middle, that is sort of between Concha Espina and the one that I've just mentioned, Manuel Llano, is actually very important for Santander and Cantabria specifically. Hey, Casey, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Because this is the man that started writing down all of the stories about the mythology of Cantabria. Some of you may know, if you've done the Quesada tour with me, or maybe another tour where I've talked about this, Cantabria has a very peculiar and rich mythology that we still remember, that we still talk about. Hey, Adnan. Hey, ACM. Hey, hello, and thank you so much for joining us here. And Manuel Llano actually collected all of these stories so they wouldn't go amiss, which is super important because people are starting to forget these tales, and otherwise we will forget them. Well, here on top of the actual paintings, we actually have kind of like a mock library, and a lot of the works that you will see here depicted are pieces that the novelists and writers that I've just told you about had created. So again, it's a way of sort of, keeping the symphony all together. And that piece that you see here, this illuminated manuscript, those of you who were with me in the tour yesterday, you may remember the countdown for the Jubilee, and I mentioned a very important piece of Spanish art. Well, this is a copy, in street art version, obviously, of the Beato de Liébana, of that very important historical document that also helped constituting Cantabria as a bastion for Christendom over the period of the Muslim occupation of Spain. And that's the reason why we have the Jubilee. And here on the other, let me just turn around to the other side, we have the rest of our lovely writers. Again, these are also from the 19th and 20th century. I'll start with the woman because it's someone that I have particularly a lot of respect for. Her name is Matilde de la Torre. Thank you so much, Katie. I very much appreciate it. Matilde de la Torre was actually a journalist. She wrote essentially non-fiction. And on top of that, she was an incredible supporter of the Second Republic that gets overthrown by the Franquist regime. She actually, when she went into exile, despite being part of the sort of governing body and providing a lot of support for the government in exile, she created her own newspaper to actually report the misery and suffering that was happening in Spain as a result of the civil war and the dictatorial regime that Franco created. So she was a very, first of all, courageous woman, because if she would have been caught, well, you know what would have happened. And secondly, someone that obviously took, reporting from the point of view of working in journalism and telling stories that were, about the people very seriously. And as such, she was an incredibly main driver for the Spanish feminism, so that we would get the access to, free press and also the right to vote. So Matilde de la Torre, super important for us. And again, she was a local. So everyone with Matilde de la Torre. Then here we have the man that is right underneath her is Benito Pérez Galdós, who is very, very famous for writing some of the most famous sort of historical literature pieces of the period, las novelas of Spain, narrating the sort of the 18th to the 20th, 18th to the 19th century history of Spain, but in a very novelized way, so you could read them. Hi, Deborah, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. And on their left, we have the man on the sort of, on the far back, that's José Luis Hidalgo, is another writer, a minor name in this sort of set. And the one on the far left, in the more sort of pale scale, is José María de Pereda, which again, some of you would have seen in the tour yesterday. He's the one that we have the Pereda Gardens dedicated to, and a very important novelist for Spain. And then down below, we have José Hierro. If you did my tour of the bay yesterday, you would have seen the sculpture dedicated to him. He's a very important poet from Santander. And then we have Sánchez Díaz and Amos de Escalante, who were smaller novelists, but also considered amongst the greatest in the area of Cantabria. And that is what this mural represents, and why we're actually quite fond of it, because this is literally our culture, our literary culture, but in two walls, which is, pretty cool, especially since a lot of places wouldn't even have the time to consider or remember these people. So there we go. Hi, Jackie. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm afraid to say that the next mural that I'll show you is actually the last one of the tour. Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for joining us. Since, well, we're approaching the hour, which is normally the mark that I try to do. But I like ending in this mural because it's very striking, it's very beautiful, and it's actually on the corner of my old high school. So again, as you can see, all very local, all very me, me and my turf. But it's a very pretty mural, the one here at the end. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Eliza. Thank you so much for the comments, guys. Always happy to see you being happy. But yeah, so this was literally the way I would go to school, through this road, Calle Guevara. In fact, my two schools were here, and that's my dad. Hola. Voy a acabar aquí. Hasta luego. Okay, as you can see, it is the neighborhood. So this is my dad bringing back shopping from the corner store. How funny. So anyway, as I was saying, I would walk my way home and to school here, and the mural wasn't there when I was going to high school. Actually, this is something that they just did quite recently, again in a process of rehabilitating the building next to the high school. The high school is the yellow building that approaches here on the on the side. You guys are so kind. I'll let Dad know that you said hello when I get home. He would have come with us, but he was carrying quite a lot of he needed new fruit and veggies for something he wanted to cook today before I go. So he was quite loaded. Thank you so much, Susie. I very much appreciate it. On another note, for those of you who were interested in the story of the fire of Santander, the fire actually went all the way up here from Calle Cádiz. So as you can see, it was generally many roads that got destroyed. And again, if you were in the Santander of disasters, the issue with Cabo Machichaco, the explosions and the debris actually fell over this building too. So quite an impact in the town. And the the building that you see here, all painted with striking colors, is the last one. Well, this yellow building is Instituto Santa Clara, which is where I went to study from the ages of, my goodness, 14 to 18. Yes, 14 to 18. And this building was literally being renovated the very year I finished school in 2009, because there was a plan from the local government to kind of help buildings that had problems with humidity in their facades, to essentially get them fixed. And as such, if you wanted to then do something like this, you could get a small grant to help a local artist get it all sorted. It's literally just called Roses. I'm sure you can guess why. And let me see if I can get you a clear shot without the bars in the way. There we go. It's lovely. This artist hasn't done a lot more at this scale. She's done a lot more of like illustrations and work for the community, with kids' books and whatnot. But it's absolutely lovely, charming, and it's right the edge of the neighborhood. If I live here, we will be now almost in the ayuntamiento. We will be in the town hall, and then starts the posh part of Santander. So since I'm a working class girl, I'll stick to my turf. But this is where everything ends. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed that. I'm just gonna turn the camera around to say goodbye. I'm so glad that you joined and that you enjoyed it. But I'm really happy because I have a sweet spot for street art. I grew up with it, and I think it's a medium that deserves a bit more press. And it's just such a shame that in the UK where I live, whether it's Southampton, Winchester, Portsmouth, there are some street artists, but it's not to the level of Santander. So when I was coming here with some time, I was like, I have to show this because we are one of the cradles for some of the best artists currently going around the world, and that is good to show. And maybe next time, if I come with a bit more time and I can get the signal working, I will get you to the other side of town and see the big ones from Okuda and a few others. But I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much, guys, for your comments. I very much appreciate them. I have one more tour today in the Magdalena at about 5:30 p.m. Central European time. But if I don't see you then, and I don't see you until the new year, Happy New Year, Happy 2023. Thank you so much for having support me this year. Honestly, it means the world to me. And I really hope that 2023 is awesome for everybody and everyone and hopefully the whole world. Let's hope that 2023 is a bit kinder and a bit nicer. Anyway, I must go now and help Dad with the fruit and veggies, and I'll see you guys later. Take care and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.